COVID-19 is probably rising or decreasing. Is it? Let's find out. In the last day since Friday, there's been 6.63 million cases in the state of Texas, plus over 3,100 deaths. 86,938 plus 73. In Oasis County, we had 99 new cases plus 52,501. 92,501, sorry. Which now is up to 93,000. Still over 1,400 deaths. Tests, 2.7% tests been taken, with over 500,000 tests been taken since March 11th, the 7-day average. Positive tests are up at 14,800. People in ICU is almost at 4,000. People hospitalized is over 20,000. Vaccination, 71.8% have had at least one dose, which is 20.8 million since March 19th, since today. And 17.5 been fully vaccinated, which is today. In the United States, 558 million doses have been given. 217 million people have been fully vaccinated. 65.8% of the population has been fully vaccinated. In total cases, 6.6 million cases. Reported yesterday was over 3,100. Reported yesterday for deaths was 73. Total doses been given 44.9 million. And reported yesterday was 30,000. New doses from 5th to 18th was over 51,000. New doses for 14 days, which is March 6th to 19th, which is 384,000. And 17.5 million have been fully vaccinated, which is 60% of the population. Worldwide, 14.2 new doses being given. That's total. Total doses, 10.9 million. 4.4 million people have fully vaccinated, which is 7.8% of the world. I mean, visualizations, the total is just by actual population. But there is now a new COVID-19 variant that sparks fears of another surge. So let's take a look at that from the CBS Evening News.
If you're driven by an adventurous heart, you're in luck. The 2022 Subaru Outback shares your spirit.
Turn now to some big headlines tonight on the COVID front. Here in Washington, the Prime Minister of Ireland had to miss St. Patrick's Day celebrations with President Biden after the Irish leader tested positive for COVID. CBS's Meg Oliver reports now on the return of St. Paddy's Day parades amid concerns over that new strain of COVID.
Today, thousands of people lined up along New York City's famed Fifth Avenue to celebrate St. Patrick's Day without COVID restrictions.
It's been 2 years of us doing it virtually or just with close family, and now we're out.
But as people hope the luck of the Irish will bring more festive scenes like this, COVID cases are rising in China and across Europe, where some places have also relaxed some COVID mandates.
Europe has trended about 3 to 4 weeks ahead of the U.S. in terms of its COVID patterns. And in the U.S., we're already seeing an increase in the amount of COVID in the wastewater, which would also signal that we're heading into a surge here as well.
The average daily number of new cases has dropped to about 31,000 per day, down 96% from the Omicron peak. Although the spread of the new BA2 subvariant is more transmissible, it isn't more severe than Omicron, and vaccines and a prior Omicron infection are effective against the new strain.
How concerned are you with large gatherings today on St. Paddy's Day?
I think large gatherings can be done safely if they're done outside, if they're done in spaces that are well ventilated. But if you are talking about large gatherings in a crowded indoor bar, for example, I think that certainly could result in a lot of transmission.
And it will take a few weeks before we know if St. Patrick's Day parties result in more COVID cases. And this all comes as COVID funding is running out. If Congress doesn't pass a new bill, federal programs that fund testing, treatment, and vaccines will start expiring next week. Nora?
Meg Oliver, thank you so much.
So, again, this variant is probably on the rise here, so we need to make sure we do the things. Masking up is really important. Bridge of the nose, not down there, nor down here. Social distance, 6 feet. Hand washing. It's very important to do hand washing every day. 110 degrees, hot water, soap, kill germs. If you work at fast food restaurants, it's going to be every hour. Make sure you're doing the same thing in transportation, whether you're riding the bus, the airplane, the subway, etc. If you're going to attend large events, make sure you have your masks. Make sure you avoid large gatherings, and try to social yourself. If you're not vaccinated, if you are, then you're okay. If you're under 2, there's no masks. If you're quarantined, don't go out. Stay in the house. Don't go anywhere. If you have a medical condition, let them know beforehand. They'll understand. After the 5th day of quarantine, make sure you get yourself tested again. You test positive the first time, test the second time negative. We gotta fight this thing. If we don't fight this thing, we're end up going back to square one. And I'd hate to go back to square one when we went back 2 years ago. Alright, let's take a break here. Let's see what we got coming up. See what we got for you coming up. Let's take a break. Next, it's about those ghost guns that are showing up in school shootings, and experts fear the trend will get worse. Then there's an affidavit that sheds light on the Oak East High School shooting. And a 15-year-old boy in Yakima, Washington is to be tried as a minor in the school shooting. After this, that's all coming up. Don't go away. Up front tonight, ghost guns. Since November, at least 4 school shootings had an alarming connection.
There are now some 40 million handguns.
Sorry about that. Up front tonight, ghost guns. Since November, at least 4 school shootings had an alarming connection to law enforcement activists alike. The suspected shooters used a ghost gun. A ghost gun is a firearm that comes in packaged parts, can be bought online and assembled without a trace, which experts warn are becoming increasingly dangerous. Alex McCord, an assistant professor at Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Violence and Prevention and Policy, told ABC News that when we first heard about these weapons, we thought everyone can get them even as a kid, but it's not hypothetical anymore. McCord, law enforcement officers, and other experts who have been studying these ghost guns also told ABC News this trend is likely to continue beyond the school setting unless policymakers take action, meaning the lawmakers, which, if that happens, it would violate everyone's Second Amendment rights. There are 2 types of weapons that fall under the ghost gun moniker, according to McCord. It's the plastic gun that can be made with a 3D printer. Those 3D printed guns. And as John Stossel tells you, it's a big problem. But a spokeswoman from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Explosives told ABC News that the number of priority-made firearms, or PMF, from crime with law enforcement has increased over the years in 2016. Now here's John Stossel with the right to print arms.
Technology moves forward. Things like 3D printers are great. So are you ready for
3D printed guns?
Anyone can print it. No background checks. Mental illness not a factor.
That's
virtually undetectable.
The media are alarmed.
This changes the safety of Americans forever.
You shouldn't be able to make a gun in your own basement.
Massachusetts legislator David Linsky is one of many officials who want 3D printed guns banned. No one should be allowed to make these guns, ever, on their own.
That is absolutely correct. Look, we have enough guns in this country already.
But there's a bigger issue at stake, says Defense Distributing, the company that owns the blueprints for 3D printed guns.
I think it's incredibly important for companies like ours to stand up for rights that are being obviously infringed upon.
Not just gun rights, they say, but free speech.
The law can treat firearms like firearms. They can't treat the speech used to make them like firearms. We're fighting for the constitutional rights to share these files with the world.
Why do you want to? There's enough weapons out there.
We believe in free speech. You can't ban lawful U.S. citizens from sharing information with other lawful U.S. citizens, right? You can't ban the sharing of the information.
This isn't about guns. This is about free speech on the internet.
The federal government has a responsibility to keep people from spreading this around the country.
Keep people from spreading sounds like censorship.
It's not censorship when the national security and public safety are at stake.
You can argue it's justified, but it's censorship.
The side of the federal building has been blown up.
Holy cow.
After the Oklahoma City bombing, the U.S. Congress asked the Department of Justice, can we make a law that bans putting bomb-making instruction on the internet? And DOJ said, no, you can't do that. You can't ban putting files on the internet. Nuclear bombs are a little bit different because it's classified information.
What's not classified is all over the web. Plenty of websites and books teach people how to make deadly things. Should the anarchist's cookbook be banned?
No, there's no reason to ban books.
There's some deadly recipes in there.
The genie is out of the bottle a long, long time ago on the anarchist cookbook. But this is a very different thing, whereby all you have to do is download a file, press a button, and a printer gives you a gun.
I don't think that's an accurate description of the technology. There's not just point, click, shoot.
Bad people can go to Instagram and get an Insta gun.
People think that with a 3D printed gun, you press one button, click, and a gun pops out. It's actually a very complicated process. It might take a full day of printing. You have to treat the plastic with chemicals so that they're strong enough, and then odds are the gun's pretty crappy.
America does have a long tradition of people making their own guns.
If we had a ban on home manufacture of weapons during the time of the American Revolution, we would probably still be under the king's rule.
Well, it was a very different society. Now we have AR-15s and semi-automatic weapons.
Rights are enshrined in the Constitution for permanence. They're not put there for transitory, fleeting references. They're there for the long haul.
But the Constitution also says, provide for the common defense. Politicians call printable guns a windfall for terrorists.
A direct threat to our national security.
Terrorists have access to far more dangerous weapons than 3D printed guns. The notion that, ISIS is having a factory of 3D printers and making these stupid little plastic guns that can fire one shot at a time, it really strains credulity.
But couldn't 3D printed plastic guns sneak through airport security?
Bullets are made out of metal.
They'll just use plastic bullets.
You can buy plastic bullets or rubber bullets today in a store. They're not very effective.
6 years ago, when Blackman's client first posted the blueprints, the State Department forced them to pull the files.
We took our files down, with thousands of other places on the internet hosting them.
It's true. The legislator hadn't realized that.
Is that an active website right now?
Download now. Anybody can do it.
I understand that some people might think that the genie is out of the bottle, but let's put as much of that genie back into the bottle as we possibly can.
You can't put the genie back in the bottle. One of the reasons why these efforts to regulate the internet are kind of silly is you can't shut down information. If anything, banning the information creates interest, right? When you ban some people say, oh, I want to get that, and it makes you want to download even more.
For now, the information's out there, and politicians and TV anchors will try to scare you to death.
Tomorrow morning, the sun will be shining, the birds will be singing, and anyone will be able to legally download instructions to 3D print their own fully functional plastic gun.
That happened. The world's the same. Birds are still singing, the sun's still rising, and I think people are just fear-mongering.
There will be a new wave of gun violence.
We believe in free speech. This is an important principle, and the state can't take us down.
I agree with that. Coming up, there's going to be more. There's more school shootings happening. This time on KMBC and Yakima, Washington, when we return. We're now learning more about these school shootings that are happening from ghost guns. We just heard from John Stossel about the right to print arms. Jason, now there's the latest in this school shooting. This was from weeks ago. This was probably a day ago. This is an affidavit that sheds light on Oath East High School, on the East High School shooting. Court documents released Wednesday detail that what happened in the East High School on the day of a day with school administrator resource officers were repeatedly shot by an 18-year-old student. The student accused of the incident, Jason Desiree Elmore, remains in critical condition in the area hospital after he was reportedly wounded by a school resource officer who returned fire. The affidavit released Wednesday by the Johnson County, Kansas District Court states Dr. Caleb Stoppel, the assistant principal wounded in the shooting, was told by a counselor that the student had been bringing a gun to school. After speaking to the different student, documents say Stoppel and the assistant principal Leslie Simmons identified Elmore and selected Elmore out of shop class, the officer in the school. Eric Clark, the resource officer, told investigators that he drew his pistol and shot Elmore to defend himself. Elmore remained in the hospital in critical condition. At the last update, he's due back in court here on Thursday. His bond is set currently at $1 million. Sounds like firing back at the hospital. Now, a 15-year-old boy who was accused in the Yakima, Washington shooting for killing his own cousin is being tried as a minor in school shooting. The 15-year-old boy is charged with killing his own cousin in Tuesday's shooting and will be tried as a minor. Friday, Yakima County Prosecutor Joe Bishop released a statement from the boy will not be tried as an adult. Charges were filed on Friday afternoon in juvenile court. Also on Friday afternoon, Yakima Police Department told Action News that Chris Yeager was treated and released from the hospital this week. Yeager was shot in the wrist during Tuesday's tragedy, but is expected to make a full recovery. See, that's what we're talking about here. They're not releasing his name. So that's what we talked about on Give Me Break Friday. We talked about this and how the media released his name because he's tried as an adult. So what does that mean? Well, it means that nobody has the right to freaking say somebody's name. Say somebody's name in the shooting, like in the case. I mean, the two boys in the Colorado school shooting, were they minors? Probably not. But if they were, that thing would have been invented. But the genie is out of the bottle with this, and the horse is out of the barn. I'm glad that Karen McDonald said not to release the name, because remember that 15-year-old brought that gun to school. He fired that gun, and he fired that gun. He's tried as an adult, which the media says his name, but if he was tried as a minor, then he wouldn't be saying his name. But I guess what the prosecutor is doing is saying, we got to take him back to juvie. And they're pushing him to get back to juvie. But when the media is saying he's tried as an adult, you say the name. Now the prosecutor is saying, we don't care. So, along with the teacher who shot that racist who fired back, that brings us to, let's flash back to when we talked about those arming teachers. So now the question would be, what can be done to prevent these school shootings? Well, as we just heard, the solution would be to have a police has a police station. Like CCISD and Flower Bluff, they have their own police station. A lot of other schools don't have their own police stations because they're afraid it could cost the taxpayers a lot of money. Is this going to raise our taxes? Well, according to Freeman from back in 2020, it's not going to raise your taxes. That has nothing to do with the tax rate. But Trump was mocked when Trump was president. He was mocked at the idea. So once again, here's John Stossel.
Living in South Florida.
17 people shot to death. What can be done about school shootings? Some say kids will be safer if some teachers carry guns. President Trump said that.
We need to let people know, you come into our schools, you're going to be dead.
Trump was mocked for suggesting teachers have guns.
Arming a teacher is completely insane.
It's a terrible idea.
A terrible idea.
But Trump's critics probably don't even know that many teachers have brought guns to school for years. In Texas, teachers carry in about 200 schools. This high school advertises that.
I can see that sign out on the highway. Boy, it's a great, man.
Parents we interviewed here like the policy.
It's a good idea.
I think we need it. It makes me feel safer.
I love the King gun policy.
Superintendent Ricky Stevens created it, saying if there's trouble, teachers want to go defend the kids.
We know our staff and our teachers are going to go. Do we want them to go with a pencil or go with a pistol?
Everybody's against it.
This Florida student says teachers carrying guns is a terrible idea.
You're asking a teacher to fight an assault rifle with a handgun. That seems like a pretty unfair fight to me.
The teachers have handguns against somebody with a big gun. That's not much.
It's not much, but it's better than nothing. If you go there with nothing, you have no chance of stopping anything.
The police come. They see your teacher with a gun. How do you keep them from shooting her?
We train a lot with our local law enforcement. So that helps us because we want them to at least know we're there and at least recognize us. If they happen to get shot while they're stopping a tragedy, all of our guardians have said, that's just the price of being a guardian.
His teacher saw how during the Florida school shooting, the security guard waited outside.
It made me mad.
It's a reason she's glad she could carry her gun at school.
You have to have a fighting chance if something should happen at our school.
We hid her identity because she and the school don't want a potential attacker to know which teachers are armed.
Are you carrying now?
Of course.
Many people say armed teachers create new dangers.
Teacher accidentally fired a gun in his classroom.
At this California school, a teacher mistakenly shot at the ceiling. One student was slightly hurt by falling debris. But that's the only incident we could find where a student was injured.
Took a rifle to his...
On the other hand, armed teachers have stopped school shootings.
16-year-old Luke Woodham has been arrested.
When this student killed two classmates, an assistant principal with a gun held the killer at gunpoint until police arrived. We don't know how often armed teachers deter shootings. The media can't cover crimes that never happened. The media also distort what President Trump proposed.
Donald Trump said teachers should have guns. Teachers should not be required to protect and serve and to teach.
Required? No teacher's required to carry. It's voluntary. Those who want to bring their guns to school can. Here's another distortion.
I really do not support the idea of arming teachers.
Arming teachers.
Arming teachers? A new federal program? That's not what the president proposed. Lots of teachers already have guns. All a school has to do is allow some to bring their guns to school. At the Keene School District, however, Superintendent Stevens did create a new government program.
The school purchases a gun, and then we give them and register them to our teacher.
That way, he says, he can make sure all teachers have training on the same type of gun. Finally, as we ponder the best way to keep students safe, we should address the scariest myth.
The epidemic of shootings. The epidemic of school shootings.
Despite what the media say, there is no epidemic of school shootings. No sharp increase. School shootings kill far fewer kids than driving, suicide, drowning, even suffocating. Why now? School shootings are not in a big uptick.
Exactly right. But we prepare for them because if even one shooting happens, it's more than we would want.
You're 10 times as likely to die suffocating.
Right.
I mean, you can't protect against all these things.
No, but we do train our kids in school how to not suffocate, how not to drown.
Certainly, Stevens' armed teacher program is cheaper than what my town does. New York City spends hundreds of millions of dollars stationing police officers in and around schools. Of course, here and in most blue states, suggesting that some teachers carry weapons horrifies people.
They don't understand that a responsible, trained teacher with a firearm is better than having a teacher with nothing. Texas will definitely probably be leading the way when it comes to protecting our kids with weapons, and that New York would choose to go a radically different way.
I'm glad that we live in a country where the local people can decide what goes on in their school district and not a bunch of people in New York City.
It's good that America has 50 states. That allows experiments. Teachers in New York City may fear guns, but teachers in Texas can serve and protect.
In a bit of future, we'll look at a case of Tom Broom, who was in Dallas. Under the Texas law, he had the right to shoot or use deadly force. Look at that in the near future. But when we come back, a flashback to one of the strangest things that happened. Banning pencils and pens. Don't go away. One of my main goals this season is to focus on education. The main reason it is because it's falling off the mat. That's the whole goal for the season, and the whole goal of this show is to help people get back in class. But there was a weird article I found from years ago. I found it while I was watching Lamar Wilson. It was deleted, but I can't remember this one. In Massachusetts, there was a crazy teacher that banned pencils and pens. When I first read about this story, I thought that she wanted to input technology, so she wanted them to type stickering pencils and pens. Let's read this memo. Students no longer be allowed to bring writing implements to school. It said pencils will be provided to students in class, and any students caught with pencils or pens after November 15th would face disciplinary action or materials to, quote, build weapons. Look at this. You're going to build a weapon out of this pen? This is not a weapon. It's writing. It's a tool. Monkeys use tools. Tools were invented for man. And if you're going to ban pencils and pens, that's just outrageous. Now there's even 10 reasons why to ban pencils and pens. But we're not going to have time for it. But I'm going to have time to give you just one reason. And then probably on Monday, we'll give you the list. So the reason, number one, is pens are a distraction. Tapping, clicking, flipping, rolling, you just drive right and hit you in the bin. They're dangerous, and pens can be used to cheat. That's probably the reason why pens are banned. Should be banned. And we'll look at all these reasons on Monday. So look for that. And make sure you subscribe to the brand new Give Me a Break YouTube channel. Not the American Player channel. I told you yesterday I wasn't going to post any more Give Me a Break videos on my old channel. On the new channel, Give Me a Break. So make sure you understand that. And make sure you subscribe to the Give Me a Break channel. Like, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications so you won't miss an episode. But in the meantime, that's all for this edition of Give Me a Break Saturday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Monday with the reasons why pencil and pens were banned and why it's a stupid idea. And along on Monday, my explosive rant to the school district for violating that state law in Ohio. For all of us here at Give Me a Break and YouTube, good night.